All right, everyone, let's get started. Let's get our regular meeting started. In accordance with the order of the Office of the Governor issued on March 16, 2020, the City Council of the City of Cotulla, Texas will hold a regular meeting at the Alexander Convention Center, 290 North IH 35 Access Road, Cotulla, Texas 78014, at 7 p.m. on Thursday, March 25th, 2021. City Council will have the option to attend in person or by conference call. Citizens of Cotulla will also be able to listen to the meeting by video conference. Public comments will only be accepted in writing no later than 30 minutes in advance of the meeting by sending them to City Secretary Bianca Maldonado at biancamcitySecretary@gmail.com. Roll call. I believe everybody's here with the exception of Mr. Luis Ayala.
Mr. Ayala indicated that he would not come tonight because he had a death of his brother-in-law and that he had broken his glasses and broken his hearing aid. And so he has to be excused.
I need a first motion to excuse Mr. Luis Ayala for being absent.
So moved.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Juan Garcia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Citizens to be heard. In order to limit the number of people in attendance per the governor's order, public comments will only be accepted in writing no later than 30 minutes in advance of the meeting by sending them to City Secretary Bianca Maldonado at biancam.citysecretary@gmail.com. City Council cannot discuss any present issue, nor may any action be taken on any given issue at this time. Was there any citizens to be heard, Ms. Secretary?
No, sir.
Thank you very much for that. Moving on to item number 5, discussion and possible action to approve a request submitted by Johnny Joe and Renee Gonzalez asking for permission to connect to a 12-inch water line that service TDCJ individuals previously submitted by letter requesting annexation.
This is a request by a family that is located outside of the community. Anytime that we provide water service or have a request to provide water service outside of the city, we bring it to the City Council for approval. We also ask that anybody requesting water service be allowed or that they must ask for annexation so that the city services can be offset by the tax valuation of the property in which they're going to be connecting water service. This area will be discussed also later on in the evening on this agenda where we have a pending easement for approval to council. I believe that this track is immediately adjacent to that easement. What allows the annexation to be considered is that in order for a tract of land to be considered for annexation, it has to be contiguous to current city limits. That means it has to touch the city limits. So when you do a combination of annexations, you can in fact take an easement, annex the easement, and if that property is touching the annexation, you can also consider that tract of land. And We are not allowed to go outside of our easement currently. The individual has indicated that the person that sold him the tract of land will allow him to run the water line to the point where we put the meter. We have to put the meter on the easement because that's how far we can go. And then he would need to do the extension to that point. If in the future, we want to do an expansion because we have an easement, we also have another item on the agenda later on tonight that will also impact. So all of these pieces are gonna fall into place. But as we have the discussion, we'll move forward. Because he's currently outside the city limits, then the cost of the service to him is 1.5 times the cost to the current city residents. If in the future it gets annexed, then that cost would go down to whatever the regular cost is for people inside the city limits. And we recommend that you make that consideration and we can move forward with the service. And then as we continue to do the different things that are gonna impact that particular property, things will get adjusted.
Mr. Gonzalez,
And
does he wanna say anything?
That's it right there.
Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to say something?
No, sir, I just came to, just in case y'all had any questions on anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
And
spoke
you will
to,
get permission?
Excuse me?
You will get permission to,
he does have.
oh, he does have, okay.
Yes, yeah, I already have permission and I talked to, the Walina about,
Yeah.
that's why he knows everything I was trying to do.
Okay.
But I just came just in case y'all had any questions.
It's in writing, sir, and everything?
Yes, no, he submitted a letter to Ms. Gonzalez, and when we bring I think there's 4 or 5 tracks that we're gonna do, we're gonna bring that track
Okay.
and another track that's in here.
And annexing, okay. Councilman, any questions on item number 5?
No.
No.
No, sir.
Not, I need a first motion to approve item number 5.
So moved.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Amen.
Motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, discussion
Miss-
and possible action.
Mayor, I would like to move that item into executive session because it is the result, it is the result of a lawsuit and a settlement. Even though Mr. Peña isn't here, I know the particulars of the settlement. And so that I would ask that we move that into executive session whenever we get into executive session.
We need a motion on that?
Yes.
I need a motion on item number 6, to be able to move item number 6 into executive session.
So moved.
First motion by Mr. Sertuche, second by Mr. Juan Garcia. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of the following vehicles. Letter A, 2021 Ford F-150 for the purchasing price of $23,138.75. Letter B, 2021 Ford F-150 purchasing price $27,743.75. Letter C, 2021 Ford F-350 purchasing price $30,280 with 75 cents. Letter D, 2021 Toyota Corolla purchasing price $20,244 and 75 cents.
We currently have a office truck, and what we want to do is 2 of the trucks will go to the water department, and 2 of the the 2 other trucks will go to the street department. We will give the truck that is currently being used at the city and exchange it for a Toyota, which is better suited for the purpose that we're using it, which is to take deposits. We have 3 people that do deposits at the city, and they use that vehicle to make daily deposits because we require daily deposits to be made. And when we put these vehicles together, we will bring it back with the roll-off truck that we bought and with the sewer machine that we bought for wastewater department. And we will do a refunding resolution where we set up the vehicle purchases on a 3-year plan, and we make monthly payments, much like you do with a car if you're buying a car yourself. And so we stretch out that payment so that we continue to have enough cash flow to operate and to do the things that we do. And we ask that you approve this item so that we can continue with that development.
And this is through the buy board. as
Yeah,
well.
all of the items are through the buy board,
That was my question.
which means that you don't have to go out on an advertisement to purchase, because when you go through the buy board, it is a cooperative that's approved by the state legislature that all cities, school districts, and counties are allowed to purchase those items, and those items are already listed at a discount for the entities, and usually it's 20 or 30% less than what you normally would pay if you went out on the open market and asked for these vehicles.
Could we say that you eliminate the middleman, sir?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Pretty
meant, it's meant to save the cities, the counties, and the school districts money, is what it does.
The 350 is that for the maintenance department or?
It's an extended cab because we don't have a truck there that can haul the Bobcat and the trailer or the paving machine, and that's why it's done.
Yeah.
The reason it's an extended cab is when usually we're gonna use that piece of equipment, it requires more than 2 people to operate. And so that truck will carry at least 4 people under current conditions.
And we do have a
Excellent.
trailer that carries a.
Yes, sir. We had a couple of trailers that we ended up taking to the shop, and we rewired the trailers, put in new lights to make sure that they were operable. As it was pointed out to me that there were some things that were missing, and we took care of that.
Okay.
I saw the trailers look good with lights.
Will they be in the future another vehicle, another pickup truck for the open truck?
As we go along, we're looking at what else is missing, and I have asked for the name of a vendor that then has the capability of producing a truck that has already been retrofitted for that purpose.
Okay.
The groundbreaking ceremony that we did earlier this week for the water tank kind of puts more pressure on the city, and at some point in time, we need to move the dog kennels to another location. And we believe that there is another location that we can use, and that the city already has acquired. And so we would be looking at moving that in the future.
Okay.
When
Excellent.
you move that, the kennel, sir, will that affect that if it's a neighborhood or?
There is one tract of land that we have that is not a neighborhood,
Okay.
or there's not any residential areas close by.
That's the one at La Sarda, is it?
Or where?
La Sarda, or
Ligarde?
the garden?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions on item number 7? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 7.
So move.
First motion by Mr. Eloy Sartuche, second by Mr. Juan Garcia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 8, discussion and possible action on a request submitted by Nora G. Martinez asking for permission to submit an accreditation food in State Library System application. That's what we talked about earlier in the week.
Yes, this is an application that the mayor is required to sign for the library. And what it is a annual application that is made for our library to become a part of the Texas library system. And what it allows it to do is it allows it to borrow books, to be able to get different materials that are used at the library through other sources in order to be able to expand their services that they currently have. She also told me that she would be submitting an annual report, and the council would recommend that the library file that application, and the mayor would sign the application in order for it to be sent in.
Are we still funding the library department?
Yes, sir. We are.
Yes, we are.
The city and the county both fund the library,
Okay.
and then they have other grants that they sometimes receive that also funds the library.
Yeah.
And they do a great job considering the amount of money that they receive.
Do they still have computers in it? It's been a long time.
They have all of that, and they probably could use more money if it was available. And I'm sure that the next time that you do a budget, that they will probably come in and ask for an increase. They are running different programs for children that they're trying to expand, and they're doing very, very good work in the community.
When do they come back? More or less.
Probably June, July, just before we finalize the budget. All of the third-party contracts that you currently have would come in at that point in time. They're also beginning to submit annual reports because they're required under the agreements that we have with them for them to submit an annual report to council, and we're gonna ask them to come in so that they can give those annual reports to you in person, and give you a summary of all their activities and the things that they're currently doing.
Yeah, Nora's doing a good job. Ms. Martinez is doing a good job. Any other questions on item number 8? Not, I need a first motion to approve item number 8.
So
Need a motion?
moved.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Mr. Satuche. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and possible action to approve the submittal of a letter to GSS Incorporated voicing our opposition construction of a monopole communication pole for our downtown historic district.
The railroad has hired a company that is going through their environmentals, and they are in the process of expanding the railroad. You're gonna see some expansion of the railroads. It is the intent of the railroad company to increase the size or length of the rails individually. In order to do that, they have to have better communication. They're gonna be impacting the city of Cotulla and Gardendale. This particular monopole is in the National Historic District that we have in downtown Cotulla. It is a 65-foot monopole. We are basically asking them in the letter that we want to be a party to the discussions and possibly move the monopole from where they currently want it located, and they're currently looking at the area where TR Keck is located. We probably would want them to move it somewhere south of us or west of us, where it doesn't have that kind of impact. And we're bringing the letter to you so that you can agree for us to go ahead and participate and make sure that the city is taken care of.
Right now, it's in the starting stages, right? Just
They're going through environmentals, and so because it's a National Historic Register.
Oh, they know that.
And they know that.
Okay.
and they're accessing federal funds to do some of this work. They've gotta do the clearance.
Hmm.
So if there's no further
Who's gonna
discussion,
be talking to him?
The mayor's gonna sign the letter, we've prepared a letter, and the mayor will sign the letter, and, we will send it to him. And, I think we have, till the middle of April that we have to submit in order to become a party. There is a timeline, there's like a 30-day from the date that they published in the paper. If you go back to the Frio Current, I wanna say they published a public notice last week.
And you'll be attending?
Well, you probably are gonna submit written comments.
if there's some sort of a meeting and they invite us, we usually invite the council as well, so to go with us. But, if you can't go, then usually, if it's not Mr. Dovalina, it'd be myself and him, that would be going, or one of you guys as well, so.
Is this cell tower gonna be exclusively for their communication, or is it going to increase communication for everybody?
No, if you drive up and down the highway, in particular, as you get closer to, the Callahan Ranch, there is a huge development there from about where the checkpoint is, going south, I wanna say about 3 miles, that they're expanding the spurs. And so what needs to happen, because they're trying to increase the length of the railroad trains, they have to make longer sidings, so they have to expand the other lane, and it almost looks like there's a double track on either side, so that one rail will go into the siding, the other train will pass it, and then it'll come back out. And that's why the increase in radio and in control is also taking place at the same time. Last year, I wanna say, they did a similar operation between the rest area at south of us, all the way to Ortiza Wells, and you'll go there and you'll see where those communication towers were placed. And in fact, they have some lights even in one of the locations, and they blocked the ranches and took some land from those ranches in order to create that space.
Okay. Yeah, I was figuring, cause it sounded like a cell tower to me, so I was like, well, will
It's not-
everybody get access to that? But no, it's.
No, it's not a cell tower. We're looking into, on another future item, there's a big issue and a big push for broadband.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at trying to access funds for that.
There's no further discussion, I need a first motion to approve item number 9.
So moved.
First motion is made by
Second.
Mr. Gonzalez, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sartuche, all in favor say aye.
Alright.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 10. Discussion of possible action to approve an estimate submitted by Gasti Incorporated for a gas line replacement of 150 feet on Pool Street in the amount of $14,500.
When we did the construction contract on Pool Street, we did not include a gas line replacement. A neighbor complained that there was smell of gas.
So, yes.
We went in and we looked at the line, we exposed areas, and we found the leak. And we found areas that were also, or we potholed 100 feet to the east, 100 feet to the west. We saw the line in some areas that was pitted. There is a requirement by the Railroad Commission that we begin to replace all of our cast iron pipe. We asked Gasti to do a submittal related to the cost, and we need to do this before we start doing construction on the street to make sure that, we don't do the street and then we have a gas leak and have to dig it up. And so we got this price, to do, the replacement with, poly. And it's, just before you get to the bridge on Mustang Creek. It's on the right-hand side of the road as you're going toward it. And that line would come all the way toward Gulf Street, almost the entire length. All of that would be replaced. And if council approves that, we would move forward and issue the purchase order, to begin the work as soon as the man can mobilize. And we believe that it'll take, a couple of weeks for that work to be done, so that we can move forward with the other project.
That would include
Excellent.
services too, sir?
Yes,
Services,
yes, the laterals.
connection.
Yes.
Connections. If there's no further, questions or discussion on item number 10, I need a first motion to approve item number 10.
I have a question,
First
sorry.
Hold on.
You got it.
Yes,
I
sir,
just-
Mr.
one
Garcia.
question, I'm just wondering here, as far as, are they the only company that submitted, or are they the only company that works around here? How are we ensuring, like, the pricing?
We have used them in the past. They're familiar with our system, and they have done other work for us, on our system. Gas is very, dangerous work. You need to make sure you have all the insurances and everything. And so since we've done work with them in the past, we, approached them, for that particular work, because time was of the essence since we have a pending contract. You're allowed to purchase, items under $50,000 under current, procurement laws, depending on how your ordinances are read. And so you can go out to a specialty vendor, and this is a specialty vendor. He's out of Corpus Christi. And he does a lot of work related to gas. He or the company also has a gas training institute, and that's what GAST stands for. It's Gas Training Institute, and they provide all of the training services for our staff, in accordance to the guidelines from the Railroad Commission. Railroad Commission is very strict about who does work on our system, and they have to be qualified by the Railroad Commission. These people are qualified by the Railroad Commission.
Okay, so we've worked with them before and we trust them.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, as far as competitive pricing, how do we ensure that? But,
Yes.
I guess
There-
in this
there-
instance, it was.
There are a limited number of companies. For instance, the work that is being done, I'm trying to remember, it's over here. The work that is being done on the highway, we actually went out on bid, and it was a company based out of San Antonio, that did that work that was bid. And, it's a company that's headquartered out of Pennsylvania. So there are not that many people around who do this kind of work.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around how everything functions still.
Sure, sure,
How
not
do
a
people
problem.
put in bids, where do
There,
they find
there,
that? And-
there is a procurement process, and it depends on one item it is that you're doing. And that's when we did the construction or the reconstruction of Pool Street, we had 9 vendors involved. We're gonna be having another bid coming out on a CDBG, grant from the state, that is gonna do work on Ortiz Street and the little alley that's there, for drainage in that particular area. And it'll require the repavement of Ortiz, which is a little street there by where the water tank is on Buckley, if you're familiar with that. And that bid will be a formal bid, and it'll go out because it exceeds that, and because the state requires it to be that. And so when there's certain requirements we follow those requirements in order to comply with state law.
Okay.
Any other questions on item number 10? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 10.
So move.
First motion by Mr.
Second.
Juan Garcia, second by Mr. Eloy Sartuche. All in favor say aye.
Alright.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 11, discussion on the housing situation of immigrants in Cotulla.
I was called by, my daughter. My daughter works for, the Department of, Human, Services in San Antonio. She's the assistant director there. And she asked me if I had received an email. This is Sunday. And I said, email about what? And she said, about the migrants that they're gonna take to Cotulla. And I said, no, I haven't received an email. And she said, well, you and the mayor and the judge are all over this email. And there's a string that is being sent to all these people with ICE. And I said, no, I haven't received anything. And then, I think a day later, the mayor called me and said, somebody from ICE is trying to call me. And at that point, I went and I received an email. And this lady that is the Assistant National Director of Community Initiatives and Partnerships for ICE wanted to set up a conference call. And so we set up a conference call. And on the conference call was that lady, her boss, the mayor of El Paso and the county judge of El Paso. And they proceeded to tell us that they were gonna house migrants in the city, in our city, and in El Paso, and in, I wanna say, Pecos. And they ended up giving us a presentation. We asked a lot of questions on how this was gonna take place, and we had concerns. And so they assured us that all precautions would be taken. And they're gonna use a couple of properties here in order to make that happen.
Are you talking about the hotels or what?
Hotels.
Yes, hotels.
What about the civic center?
They're gonna be self-contained units that their people are gonna staff. They're gonna have medical services. I believe they're gonna do catering with local food providers. But they will be self-contained as far as being able to bring people, to process them, to bring them in. They indicated that they could be here as little as 72 hours or maybe as much as 3 or 4 weeks. But they would try to process those people as quickly as they could in order to alleviate any burdens to anybody. We just asked them to keep us informed as we move forward. We understand the issues that are at the border. At the same time, we want to protect our community and make sure that none of this adversely impacts our community. And so we cautiously are optimistic that this will serve us and the people that they're involved with. If you'll notice, I don't know who it is that's already here, but obviously there's other people that are currently here dealing with the same issue, but it may be other federal agencies. I believe the people that are working the Carrizo Springs minors detention camp, some of them are housed here in the hotels. And I want to say the people that are at the Dilley family detention facility are probably also housed here. You'll notice all the vans, you'll notice that there's
Buses.
three or four buses that are here, that are carrying people. I even saw, there's a yellow taxi at one of the hotels. I noticed that there's 3 or 4 taxis, including one out of Houston that's here. And so there's a whole bunch of people that are here, that have filled the hotels up, and I guess it's good for the hotels. And if it's maybe good for the economy if those people are shopping and eating here. We just need to be aware that they're here, so that we can deal with the situation. I know that some of those people are also using the county's facility in Ensenada, I guess, because we also see people with vehicles from that detention center that are also being housed here. So it's a transition period that the nation is going through. But again, we need to know what is going on in our city, and we need to be able to protect our community from whatever it is that's happening.
And they haven't asked for anything else?
They have
haven't
not asked for anything.
Anything?
But it does impact our community. You know, there's more water that has to be produced, there's more trash that needs to be picked up. So all those things are out there that we need to deal with, and we just need to be prepared for whatever happens.
Are they gonna be COVID testing?
They have medical facilities, and they do test. They do a general physical test that includes that. And I would assume that they also have some sort of way to isolate those people from the rest of the population so that not everybody gets contacted.
Are they gonna be confined to this hotel, or are they gonna be given the liberty to?
No, it's my understanding, at least from what I heard, that they will be confined to those hotel properties.
Yeah, they're not going out, they're just keeping them there.
Does the city have to notify the residents of what's going on?
But I'm letting you know here that this is gonna happen, and so we in fact are notifying the community through this meeting that these things are occurring, or may have already occurred.
So in case the people ask you, you know what to say already.
But it is a federal government initiative.
Right. There's no, let us think about it, or?
Nope.
They're already here.
But if the item escalates to something,
If anything changes, we will bring it back.
okay.
We wanna make sure that that you as a community leaders are aware of everything that's happening, because it's important. If at some point we need to say something, we will.
Any other questions?
It doesn't require any
This
action.
item doesn't require any action, so if there's any other questions, we'll move on to the next one.
Would it be okay for us to talk to people in case?
Yeah, you can talk to people.
Let them know what's going on, what's happening?
The only thing they asked was that we not reveal the locations.
So you're not revealing the hotels where they're at.
Right.
Okay.
All right?
Excuse me, sorry.
Moving on to item number 12, discussion and possible action on the Muriel declaration of local state of disaster due to a public health emergency.
We have a local declaration that continues through April 24th, which I think is where you extended it the last time. We have had some calls related to the rental of the convention center. The only people which we have allowed to use the facilities are governmental entities. Currently, the sheriff and the adjoining counties, law enforcement people, including
State troopers.
and game wardens, are currently using the facility for training. We have asked that they set up socially distant so that it's limited to a certain number so that people aren't packed into the facility. We are currently going through vaccinations. We went through vaccinations today. We will be going through vaccinations tomorrow. Next week, there is another round of vaccinations. More people are getting vaccinated. We need to encourage our community to get vaccinated. The quicker that we can reach a certain level of vaccination, the safer the community will be. And we want to consider, and we'll bring it at the next meeting, whether you want to extend the current deadline, which is April the 24th, and extend it until the health authority in LaSalle County determines that a certain percentage of people in the county have been vaccinated. And I would think once you reach a 50% or better, that the community will be much safer, and that then we could conceivably consider going back and returning to normal with some sort of continued face mask declaration that is allowed or required in governmental buildings or buildings that are owned by the city. And you would also at that point do a consideration at which month you would, or at which level of percentage of vaccinations you would want to then consider allowing bookings in the convention center. Many of the events in the convention center are events where alcohol is present, and we know that the bars and other areas where alcohol is served in many cases become spreader events. And if you don't have a sufficient number of individuals who are vaccinated, then you have the possibility of creating a resurgence of COVID-affected people. But the more people that are vaccinated, then the potential or the possibility is lessened by that number being vaccinated. And that's why you as community leaders need to encourage the community to get vaccinated to prevent those outbursts from occurring, and have a sense of a return to normalcy, if you will, once you feel that an adequate amount of health protection has been afforded to the community. And we can certainly go back to Dr. Roth and see what they believe the percentages are of the local community who have been vaccinated. There's a lot of talk that at some point you develop something called herd immunity. And herd immunity means that there's so many people that are vaccinated that you can't contact it from one or the other. And again, you don't need to do any action, but we do need to ask you to encourage the community to continue to follow safe practices to get as many people vaccinated. The vaccines are free, and they're taking place. I think the fire department publishes the number that you call. I know that a lot of people from nearby communities have come to Cotulla to get vaccinated, and unfortunately that leaves some of our people out. And that's why we need to get our people into those lines.
Right now, you don't happen to know the percentage of,
No,
Cotulla?
the only percentage that I've actually seen is I saw where the percentage of people in Laredo are like at 40%, and I wanna say San Antonio is in the 30%. And I believe they are getting, I wanna say San Antonio is getting 10,000 vaccines, and I wanna say Laredo is getting another 10,000 vaccines. And they're having super vaccination events where they go through a drive-through and people are just getting vaccinated. But the spread and the normal hospitalization rates are dropping in both of the large cities, one to the north and one to the south. The the Laredo hospitalization rate was at one time at 35%. It's now 4%. Their death rates have gone down considerably. I wanna say Laredo has had 850 some odd plus people died from the disease. San Antonio has had something like 3,600 people who have died. Those rates have continued to drop, and hopefully as the vaccination process continues, that they'll drop even more to where people can return back to normal.
Any questions?
Are we still got to the 24th, man?
Yes, sir.
24.
I think by then we should know more or less what's going on.
You'll have a better
If
idea,
any of the
and
variants are gonna be affecting the people. or-
and we'll actually try to bring you a percentage of local vaccinations.
Well, something I've come across that you guys might find interesting, I don't know if you guys have thought about it like this, but our flu numbers are almost, they're very low, right? And so that means that this mask wearing is at least reducing the flu, so it's working,
Yes.
and this virus is still spreading the way it is. So just let's not take it too lightly and make sure before we.
Yeah. You're right.
And maybe that'll help encourage some people that maybe don't wanna get vaccinated, like, let them know, like, hey, the flu's almost gone, but this is still spreading, so it'll help everybody be more comfortable if we can all
Yeah,
be
you're right.
vaccinated.
Correct. That's good.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah, the mask helps a lot on preventing the flu. I mean, so I think we should continue to wear it and it be as safe as possible. Councilman, any other discussion on item number 12? If not, moving on to item number 13, which is closed session. Texas Government Code and Section 551.071, 1 and 2. Letter A, Mirta Garcia easement. It is-
And the item 6.
Item 6.
Item 6.
Forgive me, also item 6 will be discussed in closed session as well.
If you would read item 6.
Item 6 reads, discussion and possible action on a
Mediated.
mediated settlement regarding Cristo Rey Cemetery. It is now 7:52. Technician?
Yes.
All right. We're back into open session. It is now 8:36. Councilman, was there any,
You need to state that we are coming out of executive session and that no action was taken.
we're coming out of a closed session, going into open session. No action was taken in closed session. So, moving on to what was in.
We recommend that under item 6, the mediated settlement agreement between the city, the county, and Reyes Agüero be approved. And you need to ask council for a motion if so, that's
On
what you
item
want.
Correct.
I move.
Yes, I need a motion to approve item number 6.
Here.
First motion was made by Mr. Garcia, second by Mr. Sartuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Going into, open session on closed session, letter A.
Under the proposed easement that the city is intending to purchase a easement from Mirta Garcia, it is recommended that the easement be approved for a total sum of $50,000.
Correct. I need a first motion to approve the easement.
First motion.
First motion is made by Mr. Sartuche. I need a second. Second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 15. Meeting is adjourned and it is now 8:38.